Today on Facing Life Head On, being told your children are born with spina bifida doesn't have to be devastating news. Quite the contrary. These two families are going to show us that blessings come from unexpected places. Our story this week is about spina bifida, the most common permanently disabling birth defect. Spina bifida literally means split spine. It occurs when the developing baby's spinal column doesn't completely close, allowing damage to the nerves and spinal cord. There's no cure for spina bifida. Brian and Amy Smith knew that through their relationship with two families raising children with spina bifida. What the Smiths didn't know was they too would soon have a little girl of their own with spina bifida.
When I was 20 weeks pregnant, we found out that we now had a daughter with spina bifida. And so in some ways, we were really prepared in that we knew what spina bifida was, and we knew that there was a lot of hope, for our daughter, but it was still a blow. And maybe I took it harder than Brian, but as a mother, I really had hopes that my daughter would be able to run and jump and do all the things that other kids can do. And those things can happen with spina bifida, and sometimes they don't. And so the unknown was very frightening.
Fear of the unknown may cause more than half of parents who receive the diagnosis to abort their preborn babies. Statistics show about half the parents who find out they're expecting a spina bifida child will opt for abortion. Was that a consideration for the two of you?
It never occurred to us until we saw it in writing. We got a letter from a doctor, and one of his recommendations was that we could terminate the pregnancy.
She was very real to us. And so to see something like that in writing to suggest that we should have terminated her life, it was very upsetting and very disheartening that we felt like the world out there did not see the value in our daughter that we knew that she had.
Brian and Amy pursued an emerging treatment, fetal surgery, to close baby Hannah's spinal lesion while she was still in the womb. Because it's so new, the procedure is only performed at 3 hospitals in the nation, while it is under evaluation by the National Institutes of Health. How much time had passed between the diagnosis and the surgery?
3 weeks. 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, we had the surgery when she was 23 weeks gestation. And they put me under general anesthesia. They gave me a classic C-section. They removed the amniotic fluid from the womb and turned Hannah's back to the opening in the incision and closed up that opening, and then put the amniotic fluid back in and closed us all back up. So basically, I had a C-section, but I was still pregnant.
It wasn't an easy decision necessarily. It may seem like it was after the fact, but it's a difficult decision because there's a trade-off. There are some benefits. There's also a risk of early delivery, premature babies. Right. And with premature babies, you could have even more health difficulties than even with spina bifida. So it's a cost and a benefit that you have to weigh.
Were doctors optimistic that if you went into labor after the surgery that the baby could be saved then, at that stage in pregnancy?
They said there was a certain window, a few weeks after the surgery, if you delivered the baby, that it had a very low chance of surviving. So we knew there was a certain number of weeks that, was a dangerous window for us that we wanted to make it past.
Fetal surgery does not cure spina bifida, but it's hoped it will reduce development of hydrocephalus, the accumulation of fluid in the brain that could cause significant damage. For Hannah, the surgery was a success. Early signs of hydrocephalus dissipated shortly after her surgery.
The majority of her issues are ambulatory. She has weakness in her lower extremities. She can't move her toes, she can't move her ankles, and she actually doesn't have any feeling there. So for that reason, she wears braces at the ankle and the foot to hold that foot into a good position. And that's the way she's able to walk around with a walker or canes. And we still have hope that she'll be able to walk on her own someday.
What would you say her challenges have been through the process?
I think the challenges have been more for us, just adjusting what life would be like. Hannah has sailed through everything and takes everything in stride. She knows she has spina bifida. We talk about it. We've talked even so far as to say, you may not be able to walk on your own without using a walker for all your life. And she understands that. And I think the day we had that conversation, I asked her, but can God use your spina bifida and maybe not even walking to glorify Him? And she said, yes. And so she is a trooper, and she just takes everything in stride.
Well, she's a very vivacious, outgoing little girl.
I'm so thrilled to know that, now that Hannah's, she's 4 years old and she walks with a walker and everybody thinks she's really cute and they're very happy to stop her in the mall and talk to her. But there might come a day when she is older where people are a little shy about how to respond to Hannah if she's still using, a walker or a cane or whatever it might be. But she has been given a personality where she's going to go up and say, "Hi, I'm Hannah. How are you? What's your name?" And I'm so thrilled to see that she's going to be able to break down those barriers and let people see what a joyful life that she's been given.
Yeah, it's not a death sentence, is it?
Absolutely not. This child is so full of joy, and she has so many gifts and talents and things that she loves to do, and it's just very exciting to see what she's going to become and what she's going to do. And she's inspired so many people. So many people have told us that, and people have told us that they've been brought closer to God, and their spiritual life has deepened because of interactions that they've had with Hannah. And I can't say that I've accomplished that in my life, and she's only 4 years old.
When we return, we get acquainted with Hannah and meet an 18-year-old swimming champ who hasn't let spina bifida slow him down. This week, we set out to learn about spina bifida, a condition that develops when a baby's spinal cord doesn't properly close while still in the womb. More than half of parents who get the news their unborn baby has spina bifida have an abortion instead. After we met little Hannah Smith, a vibrant gift of life, we went to see Matthew Bokelman. Matthew is 18 years old, a senior in high school, and a talented swimmer. His parents, Dave and Debbie, say their goal has always been to help Matthew be as independent as possible. Did he need special care throughout his childhood?
Yes, he didn't walk until he was 4. He took his first steps when he was actually 4 years and 3 days old. So we had to do a lot of therapy, try to strengthen his legs, different things. We got balls and sat him on balls to try to learn a sense of balance. We made like parallel bars in the house. We just took and just try to build up the arm strength to support his weight, to try to keep him moving as much as possible. Mm-hmm. And of course, we threw him in the pool early, and that helped a lot with strength.
Matthew started swimming 12 years ago. He told us there were times he wanted to give up, always finishing last, listening to sympathetic cheers of teammates. But Matthew, who can barely feel his own legs, never quit, and soon he was finishing within seconds of the others.
Just happened about 6 years ago when I noticed I was staying with everybody. It made me happy, it made me work harder. It's hard to finish first, but mainly I finish in the middle. So that's good.
He's definitely part of the team. I mean, he fits right in. He's an inspiration, not just to me, but I think all the swimmers see him and what he has to go through and the effort that he puts in. All of a sudden, it's not so hard for the other swimmers to swim in practice. I mean, everybody gets tired. It's tough work. But Matthew works as hard as anyone else, if not harder.
Matthew says he doesn't want special treatment. He works afternoons at a local restaurant, driving his car custom fitted with hand controls. Do people treat you any differently than other guys your age?
No. They all know I'm the same as them.
What do you think about having spina bifida?
I'm used to it, and there's really nothing wrong with it. I've dealt with it for 18 years, and I can deal with it more.
Did you ever feel like it was an unjust situation or unfair that you had to face those physical hurdles?
Not at all. It's just I was put on earth for that reason.
Matthew says spina bifida may change the way he gets around, but it doesn't change his dreams. He plans to earn a culinary arts degree, pursuing a career as a chef. Back at the Smith household, Hannah continues to delight her family with new accomplishments. Now when you look at Hannah, where she's at today, what goes through your mind?
I think we're just so thankful for the things that she can do. And that has been perhaps one of the sweetest parts as a parent of raising a child with special needs, is that every accomplishment that she makes is tenfold, if not 100-fold, the joy. The day that we realized she was going to be able to ride a tricycle, which we did not expect, was just so joyful, and we were toting that tricycle everywhere and showing everybody, and the delight that she had, that she was now on an even playing field with her peers and they could go ride tricycles together. Those are very sweet moments, and whatever that accomplishment might be for a family with a child with special needs. You know, for another family it might be that their child is able to sit up, you know, or to walk on their own, or to take a drink from a cup. But whatever those accomplishments are, they are so sweet and so life-changing, you know, as a parent, to see your child achieving things that you weren't guaranteed.
When we met Hannah, she was attending a month-long physical therapy program called Conductive Education. By repeating tasks, the treatment creates new brain pathways to stimulate nerve and muscle movements. Hannah attended a similar program last year and experienced remarkable improvements.
They encourage the children to figure out how to do things, and they work with the kids to find new ways of doing things that, based on their strength or the balance, that they can't do the way that you would expect. But they kind of find, you know, ways around that and figure out shortcuts to get things done.
Is there any goal for this education therapy she's going through now that you hope to achieve?
I'd like to see her stronger in moving around, you know, increased independence in terms of, you know, taking her socks and her shoes and her braces off herself and putting them on, and all the things that I guess we want to see, you know, our kids do at this age.
And I suppose her self-confidence or her self-image improves as she's able to do more and become more independent.
You might think that, but she seems to be a pretty self-confident little girl, and her self-image seems to be pretty healthy.
So that was never an issue.
The way things are, which I'm glad for, because I don't think that anyone's self-confidence should be based upon their ability, their gross motor skills. I think, you know, we need to all be okay, you know, with the lot we've been given. That's the important thing, is that spina bifida does not define Hannah Smith. Hannah is so much more beyond spina bifida. And to the outside world, maybe what they see first is her spina bifida because she uses a walker or, you know, has a little harder time getting around. But once you get to know her, you find out just the neat person that she is.
Up next,
With Hannah, it doesn't seem like a trial. It doesn't seem like a burden at all.
When Brian and Amy Smith first found out their unborn baby had spina bifida, they prepared to welcome little Hannah into the world. But more than half of parents in that situation choose abortion instead. Amy says fear of the unknown and misleading information may be the cause.
One of the things that frustrated me when I first found out Hannah had spina bifida was that every website that I went to had a canned description of spina bifida, and it always describes spina bifida as devastating. And when you're a parent about to, have a child with spina bifida, devastating is a frightening word. And I think it's incorrect, and I think that needs to be changed. And I think it's a disservice to parents expecting these children to hear that word. There's nothing devastating about our daughter. She's delightful. And spina bifida doesn't need to be devastating. I think a lot of it is just the way you look at it and the way you look at a person's value. And if that's completely tied up in, walking and hydrocephalus and these kinds of issues, then perhaps it's devastating, but I say it's not. I say it's a challenge, and I say it's a blessing for our family. And even though if I was able to, I would take away Hannah's spina bifida for her, I wouldn't take away what has happened to our family as a result of this experience and the way that we've changed for the better and the lessons that we've learned.
With Hannah, it doesn't seem like a trial. It doesn't seem like a burden at all. God could have taken away her spina bifida in the womb, and he chose not to. So we know that that's the way she's meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And your advice to other parents facing that situation?
Don't be scared. Get all the information, but don't be tied to the information. Because one thing they tell you about spina bifida is that they can predict, what's going to happen, but most of the time, people either do better or people do worse, and they tend not to do exactly as they're predicted.
You have to look at, when you are expecting a child, there are so many unknowns, and you don't know what the future of that child is. Your child could be in a car accident someday and not be able to walk, or your child might struggle with some sort of addiction, but that's your child. And so with spina bifida, you just know a few of the challenges in advance, or you have a glimpse of what those challenges might be in advance. And that's the difference. Being a parent is not an easy thing to do, but we take everything, the gifts, the challenges that our children have been given, and we do the best that we can to guide them.
When we come back, the people closest to spina bifida speak out.
If who we are is built up in whether or not we walk, that's a sad situation.
Spina bifida is characterized by improper closing of a developing baby's spine. Sometimes children like Hannah Smith grow up with difficulty walking and other issues, and most, like Matthew Bokelman, go on to lead happy, productive lives.
Hannah's a delightful girl. She has hopes, she has potential, she will have her dreams, as we all do, and she can achieve them. I wouldn't want people to shy away from her or pause to address her in some way, because her heart is the same as mine and yours and anyone else's. She's a joy, and we thank God for her every day.
What's your message to parents who find themselves in a situation where they know they're going to give birth to a baby with spina bifida?
Not to give up hope. These children have a lot to give, a lot of love, And there's a lot of things that they can be able to accomplish.
Are you glad you were born?
Yes.
Do you think it was worth all the work?
Yes, it was.
So what message do you have to other kids out there who are facing the same physical hurdles?
Just live life to the fullest.
If who we are is built up in whether or not we walk, that's a sad situation. I mean, there's a lot more to Hannah and there's a lot more to me and Brian and you than whether or not we walk or whether or not we're able to do any number of things in other situations. And it's about who you are inside and about the person that God made you, and whether or not you can touch somebody's life isn't dependent upon whether or not you can walk or do anything else.
What would you say to a parent who is considering abortion because they're expecting a child with spina bifida?
I think it's okay to be afraid, but you also need to separate your feelings from the reality of this child, and that this child, can I go so far to say, wants to live and wants to be given that opportunity to show the world what he or she can do. And all you need to do as a parent is to love that child and let them thrive. And so, you know, look at my daughter and look at other children around you and adults with spina bifida and see their worth and their value and give your child that same chance.
Both Matthew and Hannah have shown us that out of life's adversities come some of life's greatest achievements. Thanks for watching. National Geographic produced a much talked about special called In the Womb. It reveals the amazing progress of a baby's development and follows a rare surgery performed on the baby before birth. Go to facinglife.tv and register for your chance to receive a free copy. While there, find out how you can get a copy of today's program on DVD.